This differences presentation provides an overview of new features in Symantec Data Loss Prevention 15.5. Here are the main topics we will cover in this presentation. In this section, we discuss new features related to the installation and upgrade of Symantec DLP. Installation paths for Symantec DLP 15.5 have changed. Note that with the exception of the Program Files folder, DLP's installation folder names no longer contain spaces. The installation paths for the various DLP components are displayed in the table on this slide. In Symantec DLP 15.5, the service name parameter is now used to connect to the Oracle database. Previously, the SID parameter was used to connect to Oracle. When upgrading from a previous version of Symantec DLP, you must switch from SID to the service name parameter before beginning the migration process. In this section, we discuss new enforced server and platform features. Symantec DLP 15.5 includes more than 75 new and updated data identifiers and policy templates. For a complete listing, see the What's New and What's Changed in Symantec Data Loss Prevention 15.5 document on Symantec's support site. All service names have been changed in Symantec DLP 15.5. The changes are shown here. In this section, we discuss new detection features. The new Exact Match Data Identifier feature, or EMDI, is a new exact matching technology in addition to exact data matching, or EDM, that provides exact matching capabilities on indexed records across all DLP channels: endpoint, server, appliance, and cloud. EMDI works as an additional validation check against built-in and custom data identifiers. For example, instead of matching any pattern that looks like a credit card number, EMDI enables you to exactly match only the credit card numbers contained within your EMDI index. Because EMDI indexes are sent directly to endpoints, EMDI is designed around a stringent security model to safeguard your sensitive information. Indexes are protected by the latest cryptographic standards and are highly resistant to brute force attacks. Unlike EDM, EMDI runs locally on Windows and Mac OS endpoints, so two-tier detection is not required. As a result, it's now possible to perform block and encrypt actions with exact matching on the endpoint. EMDI enables organizations to reduce and potentially eliminate false positives in their DLP environment by exactly matching indexed records. Here's a brief comparison of the capabilities of EMDI and EDM. Symantec DLP 15.5 enables you to capture image traffic information to help you better measure your OCR environment sizing needs. This functionality is enabled by setting the OCR Record Request Statistics Advanced setting on a detection server to True and then recycling the server. This setting is supported across all detection server types that support OCR. When the OCR Record Request Statistics setting is enabled on a detection server, the server starts collecting metrics on images that it encounters that are suitable for OCR submission. These metrics, which are written to the OCR log, inform the administrator about the proportion of processed images that would be submitted to OCR. Organizations can apply the values generated from the diagnostics into the OCR server sizing estimator spreadsheet to help determine how many OCR servers are required in their environment. The OCR server sizing estimator spreadsheet can be found at the Symantec Support Center at the URL shown here. Symantec DLP 15.5 now provides the ability to extract images from Microsoft Office documents and scan these images with DLP's OCR and form recognition detection technologies. This new feature supports extracting images both from legacy Office file formats, namely .doc, .xls, and .ppt files, and from open Office XML formats, such as docx, XLSX, and PPTX files. Note that image extraction from PDF files was already supported in previous versions of DLP. DLP can extract image file formats including bitmap, PNG, and JPEG from Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files. This new capability enables organizations to prevent data loss from images embedded in Microsoft Office documents. Symantec DLP 15.5 makes it easier for administrators to adjust maximum file inspection size limits. Adjustments can be easily made at both the individual detection server and the agent configuration by moving the inspection content size slider bar. The default maximum inspection size limit remains at 30 megabytes, but available settings include 100, 150, and 500 megabytes and 2 gigabytes for detection servers and appliances, and 50 megabytes, 100 megabytes, and 150 megabytes for endpoint agent configurations. Note that the larger maximum inspection size limits do not apply to DLP cloud services. This new feature enables organizations to easily configure inspection of larger file sizes. Symantec DLP 15.5 improves the performance of extracting content from OpenOffice XML formatted files by up to 6 times faster on average than earlier versions of DLP. Note that OpenOffice XML, which includes the docx, .x, pptx, and xlsx filename extensions, is the default file type for Microsoft Office 2007 and later. This feature is supported on detection servers, appliances, and DLP cloud services. The feature is disabled by default and must be enabled by the administrator after installing or upgrading to Symantec DLP 15.5. This new feature enables organizations to improve content extraction performance when performing detection on Microsoft Office files saved in the OpenOffice XML format. In this section, we discuss new endpoint features. Symantec DLP 15.5 enables you to configure policies to display blocked email domains and file attachments in endpoint notification pop-ups. This new feature enables organizations to educate users about precisely which email domain and file attachment violated DLP policies and was consequently blocked. Symantec DLP 15.5 can now perform command prompt monitoring on Windows endpoints when copying files from endpoint local disks to network shares. Note that monitoring occurs at the file location on the endpoint. Symantec DLP can also perform command prompt monitoring on files copied from network shares to endpoint local disks. When incidents are logged, the file location is included in the incident detail. This new feature enables organizations to provide incident remediators with additional information about the location of sensitive files and prevent sensitive data from being exfiltrated to network shares from endpoints. The Symantec DLP 15.5 agent can now monitor cloud file sync and share applications on Mac endpoints. If sensitive content is added to files that are synced to the cloud, DLP can prevent the files from moving to the cloud and quarantine them on the endpoint. As part of this new feature, Box, Dropbox, iCloud, and OneDrive have been added as default items to the application monitoring screen. This new capability enables organizations to protect data being synchronized to cloud storage applications from Mac endpoints. The last update received column on the agent list screen records the date and time when the last update from the agent was received. Updates can include agent events, attributes, policies, and incidents. This new feature enables organizations to view all agent updates on the agent list screen in the Enforce console to help track and debug agent issues. Symantec DLP 15.5 administrators can now apply URL filters for Mozilla Firefox monitoring in Firefox version 57 and later. Block and notify pop-ups display URLs when Firefox is used to upload sensitive files. This feature uses a browser extension that communicates with the DLP agent. Users must manually enable this extension on the endpoint to activate the feature. The Agent Overview screen identifies endpoints where the extension is not yet enabled. This feature enables organizations to assist incident remediators by providing URL content awareness for Firefox version 57 and later, and also to enforce URL filters on Firefox 57 and later. Symantec DLP 15.5 lets you control which applications and channels to monitor for a specific agent group. Previously, it was only possible to monitor a single set of applications with the same monitoring settings for all agent groups. This feature enables organizations to provide different application monitoring for different users and to roll out application monitoring changes in phases. In this section, we take a look at new Discover features. In Symantec DLP 15.5, Network Protect can be configured to automatically quarantine sensitive files in Microsoft SharePoint repositories to a network share using the Network Protect Quarantine File response action. You can select either SharePoint or file shares as the quarantine location. This feature enables organizations to provide the flexibility to quarantine confidential data from Microsoft SharePoint servers to network shares. In tandem with the ability to quarantine files from Microsoft SharePoint repositories, the Network Protect SharePoint Release from Quarantine response action can be used to release previously quarantined files back to SharePoint or to a file share location. In previous versions of Symantec DLP, it was necessary to install and configure a Flex Response plugin to release SharePoint files from quarantine. Note that with the introduction of this new feature in Symantec DLP 15.5, the SharePoint Release from Quarantine Flex Response plugin is no longer supported. This new feature enables organizations to simplify the process of releasing previously quarantined files back to Microsoft SharePoint repositories or to a file share location. This section discusses new cloud features. Symantec DLP 15.5 adds support for the following Symantec CloudSOC Securlets: Amazon S3, Cisco Spark, and Slack. This feature provides DLP Enforce with native support for Amazon S3, Spark, and Slack to detect sensitive data on these cloud applications. Symantec DLP 15.5 adds the following new smart response rules for Symantec CloudSOC Securlets. The Encrypt Smart Response Rule encrypts sensitive files in cloud storage repositories. The Remove Collaborators Smart Response Rule removes collaborator access to sensitive files in cloud storage repositories. The Remove Shared Links Smart Response Rule removes shared links that point to sensitive files in cloud storage repositories. Additionally, the Quarantine Data at Rest Response Rule has been updated to include a customizable marker file. This feature enables incident remediators to execute response rules on cloud applications. In this section, we'll discuss new integrations with other Symantec products. Data Loss Prevention 15.5 integrates with Symantec Endpoint Protection 14.0.1 and later to provide a new channel of endpoint monitoring, SEP Intensive Protection. By leveraging application reputation information provided by SEP, the DLP agent can dynamically monitor applications and prevent potentially harmful applications from accessing sensitive files on the endpoint. For example, SEP's application reputations of malicious, suspicious, or unknown can be used as conditions in endpoint response rules. This new integration enables organizations to combine Symantec DLP's content detection capabilities with Symantec Endpoint Protection's application reputation information to block potentially harmful applications from accessing sensitive files on the endpoint. Symantec DLP 15.5 now supports using network proxies to connect detection servers and endpoint agents to Symantec information-centric security services that are integrated with DLP. On the detection server side, you can now identify a network proxy when configuring a detection server and, if needed, specify the credentials for connecting to the proxy. The detection server uses the specified proxy to communicate with the ICE cloud whenever an encryption response action is triggered. On the endpoint agent side, you can identify a network proxy as part of creating an agent configuration and also specify the credentials for connecting to the proxy. Endpoint agents use the specified proxy to communicate with the ICE Cloud and SEP Intensive Protection File Reputation Service whenever relevant response actions are triggered. This new capability enables organizations who access the Internet through proxy servers to connect their DLP detection servers with the Symantec ICE Cloud, and to connect their endpoint agents with the Symantec ICE Cloud and SEP Intensive Protection File Reputation Service. The Prevent Encrypt action can now be used in response rules to automatically apply ICE encryption to sensitive files or folders uploaded using HTTPS with web browsers on Windows endpoints. The DLP agent blocks the user's attempt to upload the sensitive data, automatically encrypts the file or folder with an HTML extension, and replaces the original file or folder at the source location. When you configure the Prevent Encrypt action on the Enforce Server administration console, you can create an alert that informs the user to upload this encrypted file or folder. Note that this feature requires you to deploy the ICE utility to view and manage user access to protected files. This new feature enables organizations to facilitate information sharing with appropriate document protection controls. With the new shared authentication for the ICE utility and the DLP agent, endpoint users are now prompted to authenticate only once when they encrypt a file using DLP agent or decrypt the file using the ICE utility. Also, this new feature enables endpoint users to decrypt ICE encrypted files when endpoints are not connected to the Internet. Previously, users had to authenticate with both the ICE utility and the DLP agent to connect to the ICE cloud every time they wanted to encrypt or decrypt a file. This new feature helps to simplify the user experience when encrypting or decrypting files on the endpoint using ICE and the DLP agent. Endpoint Prevent now requires the ICE utility to be installed on endpoints in order to encrypt and decrypt sensitive files copied to removable storage devices through Windows Explorer, the command prompt, or PowerShell. Existing ICE encrypted files on removable storage can be updated by decrypting the files with the ICE utility, opening, modifying, and saving the files in their native applications, and then re-encrypting the files with the ICE utility. Previously, when an ICE encrypted file was copied from a fixed local disk to removable storage, the DLP agent decrypted it, thus defeating the purpose of encryption. This new requirement helps organizations significantly improve usability and security when working with ICE encrypted files saved to removable storage devices. Symantec DLP 15.5 response rules now support using imported information-centric tagging or ICT tags to classify content. The response rules are attached to policies used with endpoint discover scans or monitoring of endpoint channels. Policies can be configured to either apply a tag to detected content and generate an incident, or apply a tag without generating an incident, that is, to perform a classification-only scan. This new feature enables organizations to leverage DLP policies to drive data classification and tagging for existing files on both Windows and Mac endpoints. This concludes the overview of new features in Symantec Data Loss Prevention 15.5.